In this video tutorial, we'll be taking a look at non-calculator methods for Year 10 Foundation Tier, and it's looking at the White Rose Maths worksheet. So White Rose are a really good website that have plenty of practice for Year 7 right the way through to Year 11, and I believe even Year 1 to Year 6 as well. So it's quite good actually, and it gives appropriate questions, okay, for GCSE Maths, okay, and Key Stage 3 Maths, and Key Stage 2 and Key Stage 1. We're going to start with question number 1. Work out 0.3 times 20. Now what I can just do is ignore the decimal point and do 3 times 20. So 3 times 20, well 3 times 2 is 6, and the 0 is 60, and then I can just divide my answer by 10, because I'm doing 0.3, because I've timesed here to get to 3. So I've got to divide my answer by 10 in order to get the right answer, to keep the sum balanced and in check, essentially. So the answer is 6. This is the second part, 5/6 of 300. Well, this is a fraction of an amount, so divide by the bottom times by the top. So divide by the denominator and then times by the numerator. So 300 divided by 6 will give me 1/6. Okay, and then I'm going to times it by 5. 6 into 3 I can't do. 6 into 30 is going to be 5. 6 into 0 is going to be 0. So that's going to be equal to 1/6. I'm going to times my answer by 5. I'm going to get 250. Okay. So that's my answer for that question, guys. Okay, so this is a fraction of an amount. This is question number 2. A pizza costs £3.79. Work out the cost of 24 pizzas. Well, it's £3.79 times 24. But let's just ignore the decimal point and multiply our numbers and then put our decimal point back in. Now, as a rough estimate, if we ignore it, if we say like £3 times 20 will be 60. So our answer will be in the range like 60 to 70, or yeah, like around that idea, that mark. Okay, so just to give like a little benchmark. So we're looking for like this range, okay, depending on how much it goes. So 60 to 80, because 3 times 20, obviously it's going to be more than 60, but it's going to be, this is going to be our range. Okay, so it should be less than 80 roughly. 9 times 4 is 36, so 6, carry the 3. 4 times 7 is 28, add the 3 is 31, so carry the 3 again. 4 times 3 is 12, add the 3 is 15. I'm then going to put a 0. 2 times 9 is 18. 1. 2 times 7 is 14. Add the 1 is 15. 3 times 2 is 6. Add the 1 is 7. I can now do my column addition, although I haven't got much space below. 6 add 0 is 6. 1 add 8 is 9. 5 add 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 1 add 7 is 8, add the 1 is going to be 9. Okay, so hopping the decimal point back in, it's £90.96. So my guess was actually off a bit, but it was like I can use that to estimate my answer. Okay, so that's going to be the right amount. Okay, because I've essentially times this by 100, so dividing this by 100, so hop the decimal place 2 places to the left. Okay, and I get £90.96. Okay, this is question number 3. Work out an estimate for the value of this sum. Now, when you see the word estimate in mathematics, it's rounding each number to one significant figure. Okay, so 43 goes to 40. Oops, let's just delete that. So 43 goes to 40. 28 goes to 30. And 0.52 goes to 0.5. Okay. So it's looking at the second digit of each number or decimal. If it's 5 or more, then I round it up. If it's less than 5, then I round it down, okay? 40 times 30, well, that's going to be 12, and then add the 2 zeros, so 1,200. Divided by 0.5. Now, dividing by 0.5 does something in particular. It actually doubles my answer, because if you think about 0.5 into 1 goes twice, so it's going to be double that, which is 2,400. Okay, double of 12 is 24, and then add the 2 zeros is 2,400. This is question number 4. Calculate this fraction. Okay, so when I'm subtracting fractions, I've got to find the common denominator. Now that's usually found, generally speaking, by multiplying the two bottom numbers together. Okay, but it might not always be the case, so it depends on the numbers that you're given. But essentially, it's the lowest common multiple. Okay, 9 times 2 is 18. Okay, so 18 is our smallest number. Okay, and then a little trick here. I do 2 times 5 is 10, and then 9 times 1 is 9. Okay, so these are now equivalent fractions. So I've times top and bottom by 2, and I've times top and bottom by 9 for this fraction. Okay, 10 ninths minus, 10 18ths minus 9 18ths is 1 18th, okay? Okay, this is the second part. 2/3 divided by 2/5. Okay, so when I divide fractions, I keep the first one the same. I flip the second one, and then change the division to a times. Okay, so you are multiplying by its reciprocal, we say, or its inverse. So you flip the second fraction. 2 times 5 is 10. 7 times 2 is 14. So I get 10 14ths, which I can simplify by dividing top and bottom by 2. I get 5 sevenths. Okay. Right, guys, so next question. Okay, a small town has a population of 6,000 people to the nearest 1,000. Okay, so this is going to be quite important. What are the least and greatest possible values of the size of the population? Well, the least I can have is 5,500 people. Because if I round this number to the nearest 1,000, I get 6,000. So that's the lowest amount possible. And the greatest, essentially, is 6,499. It can't be 6,500, because then that would round up to 7,000. So that's the greatest amount, okay, for this, okay? So that's my answer for that question. Next one. A book is 19 centimeters long. Correct to the nearest centimeter. Complete the error interval for the length of the book. Length L of the book. Okay, so if it's 19 centimeters, then the lowest value is going to be 18.5. Okay. And the highest value will have to be less than 19.5. Now I'm putting 19.5 here just to be clear, guys, because the inequality is strictly less than. So the highest value it can take is 19.49999, etc., etc. Okay, so that's the longest it can be. The shortest it can be is 18.50 centimeters, or 18.5, or 18.50000, etc., etc. Okay, so watch out for the inequalities. This is what I call my lower bound. Okay, so you might have heard these words before, and if you haven't, yeah, so it's just some terminology. So lower bound is the least it can be, and this is my upper bound. Okay, so that's the maximum it can be, or the greatest, or the most we can have. Okay. Okay. Right, guys, this is question number 6. Work out the area of the circle. Give your answer in terms of pi. Now, when it says give your answer in terms of pi, this would normally appear on a non-calculator question. So the area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. Now, fortunately, we are given the radius. The radius is equal to 5. So the radius is just halfway from the center to the circumference. So r is equal to 5. So I can just substitute that into the formula. Pi times 5 squared. Well, 5 squared is going to be 25. So it's going to be pi times 5 squared, which is equal to pi times 25, which I can just write as 25 pi. Okay, so 25 pi centimeters squared. Okay, so that's in its exact form. Okay, so pi just represents a number. Okay, so pi is just what I call a mathematical constant. Okay, so that's my answer for that one, guys. Okay, so hopefully it's making sense so far. Okay, this is question number 7. Okay, it says that Annie needs to make 35 cheese sandwiches. In each sandwich, she uses 25 grams of cheese. Each block of cheese is 300 grams. How many blocks of cheese does she need to buy together? Okay, so first of all, let's just work out the number of sandwiches each block can make. So 300 divided by 25. So using the bus stop method. So how many 5s go into 3 is nothing. How many 5s go into 30? That's going to be 1. Remainder 5. How many 5s go into 50? Well, that's going to be 2. Okay, so each block of cheese can make 12 sandwiches. Okay, and we need 35. So we're going to count in the 12 times table until we reach 35 or more. Okay, so it can't be less than 35 here, so it has to be 35 or more. So 12 times table is 12, 24, 36. Okay, now 36 is more than 35, but we're going to need 3 blocks of cheese. Okay, so that's going to be 1 block of cheese for that one. That's going to be 2 blocks if it's 24 sandwiches, and that's going to be 3. Now, some of you may be asking quite rightly, thinking, well, Annie only needs 35, okay, and 36 is too much. But we can't have 2 blocks because 2 blocks won't be enough. So you have to go to the next size up. Okay, so you always have to buy greater than or equal to that amount. Now, it might not always follow that pattern. So it's the next number that is greater than that number or equal to that number in our case. Okay, so for our purposes, obviously it was following the 12 times table. 12 doesn't go into 35 fully. But we can say that if we buy 3 blocks of cheese, then she will definitely have enough. If she buys 2, she won't have enough actually. So Annie needs to make 35. So the least amount of block of cheese that she will need is 3. Okay, so like a bit will be left over, but she can't have 2 because 2 or 1 won't be sufficient. Okay, so I hope that actually makes a bit more sense. This is question number 8, guys. A family buys tickets for 2 adults and 3 children to enter a theme park. Okay, so 2 adults. Okay, let's just label adults as A and 3C as O. Okay, so that's going to equal a family. Okay, ticket. They have a 20% discount voucher. Okay, after using the discount voucher, they pay £54.40. The original price of a child's ticket was £11. What was the original price of the adult ticket? Okay, so this is so let's just break this down actually into a few parts. So they are gonna pay X amount of pounds, okay, without the voucher. Now the voucher has given them 20% off. So that means they're only paying for 80% of that price. Okay, so 80% in our case is equal to £54. Okay. Okay. 40. Okay, so hopefully it's making sense so far. We want to work out what 100% is, and then we can start working out how much the adults should be and the children should be. Okay, although the children here is given to us for the original. Okay, so 100%. Okay. Now there's one of 2 ways I can do this. I can work out 20% and then just add it on. Okay. So if 80% is this, then 20%, if you're interested, okay, based on this amount, will be £54.40 divided by 4, which I believe is going to give us a decimal answer. Okay, so 3's into 5 is 1, remainder 2. 3's into 24 is going to be 8, remainder 0. 3's into 4 is going to be 1. Okay, and then remainder 1. Okay, so this is where it's going to become a bit more tricky now, because it's not going to give us a whole number answer. Okay. So 3's into 10 is going to be 3, and then we're going to have 1 left over. Okay. So it's going to end up being £18 and 13.133333 reoccurring. Okay, so if we say that's going to equal to £18 and 13 pence. Okay. Now, obviously, I have actually rounded it here, so it might affect my answer, but we will come to the rounding part in a second. Okay, so hopefully it's making sense so far. So the full amount, 3 plus 0 is 3, 1 plus 4 is 5, 4 plus 8 is 12, carry the 1, 1 plus 5 is 6, plus the 1 is going to be 7. So they should have paid £72.53. Okay, now they are told that the original price of a child is £11, so 3 children will be £33. Okay, so I can take off £33 there. Okay, and then divide my answer by 2 because I've got 2 adults. Okay, so hopefully it's making sense so far. So £72.53 minus that. Okay, so doing like the long division, subtraction method. So doing this on paper, okay. Sorry guys, I'm taking my time here. Okay. I get £39.53. Okay, that's going to be equal to 2 adults. Now again, because of obviously rounding problems, obviously it's giving like a odd number. So if I half that, so if I divide that by 2, okay, it's going to give me, so 2's into 3, it's going to go once, remainder 1. So I get £19, okay, and 76.765, okay. Now depending on how you want to round that, okay, we will say for argument's sake that it's going to be £19.76, okay. Now that should be right. Now I think depending on whether I round up or down, it's going to give me like a error, a truncation error, because obviously I'm dealing with like different numbers here. Okay, but that's one way of doing it. Okay, so I believe that that is the correct answer. Obviously, I think I have done a bit of rounding, so it may be incorrect if I've rounded like to like a certain number of decimal places. Some of you might argue it should be £19.77. I think that should also be okay because it is like 1 pence difference. Ever heard? Okay, so that's one way of doing it. So let's just delete that. Okay, and then we'll have a look at like another way. And I appreciate it's actually quite like a tricky question. Okay. So I've got a very similar way, I suppose, actually, we could say, for this question. And that's that if the original price for a child ticket is £11, then 3 lots of it will be £33. Okay. So they would be paying a number, so plus something that has to be bigger than £54, so that has to be strictly greater than £54.20, because obviously without a discount it's going to cost more than £54.20. Okay, and then what you could do is just a bit of trial and error and see what number that you can come up with in the box that is going to satisfy that inequality. Okay, provided that you can divide that number by 2 and see what you get, if that makes sense. So if it has to be greater than that, okay, then if you solve that inequality, that box which represents 2 people would be £54.40 minus £33. So the inequality would have to be bigger than £21.40. Okay. And if I half that, because that's going to tell me what 2 people is, so each adult price has to be strictly greater than £10.70, okay, for that to be true. Now that's obviously doing it with an inequality because I haven't actually solved the problem, but I know that that has to be greater, because obviously without the discount it would cost more than £54.40, hence why I put the greater than symbol. Okay, but it doesn't actually give us the correct answer, so I think I might have like confused you guys even more by this question. Let me know in the comments here if I have like made a mistake on this question here, or if they're all ever. The first method that I did it, obviously it gave me 3 decimal places, so obviously I had to like truncate my answer, so I may be out by a couple of decimal places depending on how much I've actually rounded up and down by. Okay, but the first method, I'm pretty convinced by that. Okay, if that makes sense. So the £54.40, that relates to them paying 80% of the price, and we wanted to work out what 100% was. Okay, so we worked out what 20% was by dividing the ratio by 4. Okay. Okay, so so doing this again, actually, I think I've actually made a mistake, actually. So I think I divided it by 3, guys, and not by 4, so I apologise. 4s into 5 is 1, remainder 1. 4s into 14 is going to be 3, remainder 2. Here we go. 4s into 24 is going to be 6, remainder 0. Okay, so the answer should be different now, because I think I've actually made a mistake actually when I did this initially. I divided by 3 and not by 4, so that's probably why I made a mistake. So that means that if I now add £13.60 to £54.40, I get the answer of 68. Okay, if I do 68 minus 33, then that's going to tell me how much 2 adult tickets are, and then I can split it into a half. Okay, so 35 divided by 2. So the answer, the correct answer, should be £17.50. Okay. So apologies if you watch my mistake actually. So I think I actually divided it by 3 and not by 4. Okay, so the correct answer should be £17.50. So we got there in the end, guys, and I'm very, very sorry about taking a while to answer this question. Okay, but I hope it actually makes sense now. I think in my previous working, I divided the number by 3. I don't know why I divided by 3, but I think I've obviously made a mistake here by dividing by 3 and not by 4 instead. Okay, so when you add £13.60 to £54.40, I get £68. Subtract 33, I get £35. £35 is equal to 2 adults, because you've got 2 adults. Split that into 2, you get £17.50 or 17.5. Okay, right guys, that does now take us to the end of the video. So sorry for taking a long time on that question, actually on the last question, but I sincerely hoped you found it useful. I hope you found it informative. If you did, please press like, please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and lastly, please turn on post notification by clicking that bell icon so you guys don't miss out on further videos and further uploads on the channel. Okay, but that's it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now.